Welcome to the. Wait, hang on. Ooh, welcome to the Halloweenish, scary, spooky Discades edition.
Woo! Very spooky. Hi, we're the Discheads, and not to be confused with the Wiggles. I'm Lachlan, and I'm joined by
Jacob. Yeah, that's my name. I thought you were just going to say my name for me.
No, I figured I'd let you speak, but I wouldn't tell you that I was going to let you speak, so I'll just let you sit there in silence for a while first.
Oh, I know you too well. Actually, no, I didn't see that coming.
So yeah, it's the spooky Halloween episode, not being released on Halloween, because we're fucking lazy. Specifically me. It's my fault this time.
Yeah, so you do have a huge task ahead of you, which is to finally finish editing episode 3.
Yeah, so this is the first episode we've recorded since we actually started the channel. We recorded all those 3 episodes prior to releasing episode 1, and I've just been having a fun time the past few weeks just fucking getting through them. So hopefully people have enjoyed them, but we're here on episode 4 with a late Halloween episode coming at you a week after Halloween happened, so nobody cares about the spooks anymore, but we're going to talk about them anyway.
Of course. What is on the agenda, my disgruntled friend?
You disgruntled friend. So, Jacob visited me on the weekend. He did a 3-hour trek to come visit me for a spooky Halloween weekend where we saw a bunch of spooky movies, and we're going to talk about them. For starters, what did you think of Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom?
Oh man, I thought it was... I've changed my opinion, really. I think it's actually a wonderful, well thought out film. Colin Trevorrow, he just had such a vision for this movie.
So Jacob, what did you think of Army of Darkness?
Best Sam Raimi movie. Oh yeah, we went to go see a screening of Army of Darkness.
I'm sorry to cut you off there. I just had to get us away from that fucking movie.
I know. I could hear the knife going across your wrist as I was dribbling on. Yeah. So where did we go? We went to a special screening of Army of Darkness, and he was
Army of Darkness. Yes, for the uninitiated, Evil Dead 3, basically.
Should we start with what we think of the Evil Dead franchise in general? Because
sure thing.
Yeah.
Sure thing.
Yeah. Because I think we're both fans. We love Evil Dead. I love Evil Dead. Do you love Evil Dead?
I do love Evil Dead. I actually, over the past week, have watched all 4 of the Evil Dead movies in a fucked up order, but we'll get to that. But we're talking about Army of Darkness first because we went to a special screening at the cinemas to go see it, and it was cool.
There wasn't a huge turnout though, which I was kind of happy about, but also kind of a little bit disappointed about. So it was just about kind of more diehard fans that showed up, and every single one of them.
Yeah.
And but which is fine. I guess that made the experience a little bit more enjoyable. But there was just one asshole who thought he was hilarious.
Yes.
That's so.
That one person that had to say all of Ash's quotes 2 seconds before he says them, which I really hate.
And then later he'd go, "That's so stupid. That's so stupid."
Oh yeah, that fucking guy that just constantly, this is so bad. It's not bad. You're bad. Get out of my cinema. Pack your things. Get out of my building. You're fired.
It was pretty good screening. Like this, I think it's highlighted how cheap some of it looks, especially in HD on the big screen.
Oh yeah. Sure.
But
I mean, words. Talking about HD, I didn't think the screening actually looked that good. It was fairly fuzzy.
Yeah, really, actually.
But I suppose it's a fairly old movie. Although it's 90s, so it shouldn't look that bad.
It was 91, wasn't it?
I don't know. Is it that early 90s?
Probably, because I think Evil Dead 2 came out mid-80s.
Yeah, it's 86 or something like that. Considering we watched it at the movies, it probably would have looked better at home on my Blu-ray player. But that's fine. It was an experience to go see it. It's besides the point.
I think this is the first time ever I watched the theatrical version of Army of Darkness.
Oh, same actually, yeah, same.
We both seen the Screwhead edition, which is on Netflix for some reason in Australia.
Yeah, they don't have the original; they have the Screwhead edition with the director's cut alternate ending. Alternate ending.
It is the ultimate ending. I actually kind of prefer that ending to the new one, even though I don't. Well, not the new one, the theatrical one. But yeah, there's some things that I wish was kind of left in the final theatrical theatrical cut because it just seems a little bit jarring to me. I don't know, maybe it's because I've just seen the Screwhead edition first.
I think it's just because you're used to the other edition, yeah.
I'm not sure if we're allowed to spoil Army of Darkness on this Discheads podcast.
Prestigious podcast.
Shall we? Because like it has a lot to do with like how people might perceive Army of Darkness.
You mean the ending?
Yeah, the ending, or for like Screwhead, or in the theatrical version, because it's two different endings.
I guess the theatrical ending's very, very famous though, because he says a couple of quotes that are very famous to the character.
Oh, it's real.
But the Screwhead ending feels like a better ending for the movie. It fits the tone of the movie better.
Yeah. Like the theatrical ending is like real cheeseball, like crowd pleasing sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And the actual ending feels like more in tone with like the Evil Dead franchise. Like, I think the point is that Ash is a fucking idiot, but he also has his cool moments, which is what
pretty much, yeah.
Which is why the original ending, like, it sort of glorifies Ash a little bit. It's funny and it's fun, but I was like, it kind of misses the point of even this film, even though he has like his heroic one-liners and shit like that, but like he's constantly fucking up, and he's just an idiot.
But he's the chosen idiot, which is like the stereotypical thing for every kids movie these days.
Yeah, he's Emmett from the Lego Movie,
or he's Po from Kung Fu Panda.
Yes, except he swears and he blows off heads. Well, no. Po.
He swears and he blows. That's his character.
Well, actually, no. Po blew off someone's head. He blew off that snow leopard's head. What the fuck was he tied?
Did he blow off his head? He just made a big explosion.
I think he blew him.
He blew him?
Yeah, he blew him.
He got on his knees and blew that snow leopard.
He went skadoosh. Explooge. All over China. All over that
Jesus Christ.
All over that Chinese market. But yeah, the Evil Dead franchise, particularly 2 and even 3 to some extent, is like ultimate peak trashy horror film. Like 80s, like low budget.
Yeah, goofy, cheesy 80s horror.
It's funny.
To the max.
It's funny though, like Army of Darkness isn't really a horror film. There's horror elements. Like there's still the spooky ghouls and ghosts and skeletons and shit. And there's a bit of blood. Yeah. But it's more like an action movie. It's more like...
Oh yeah, it's funny when you look at the series lined up in a row, like on a shelf. You got Evil Dead, R, Evil Dead 2, R, and then Army of Darkness, which is only M. It's like, it's not even MA, it's like fully... Any person of any age could watch this movie.
Yeah, well, to our American audience, that's RR and PG-13. So...
Yes.
Which is why there's only one fuck in the entire Army of Darkness, which is pretty well used, actually.
I forgot that we had such a big American audience, Jacob. Thank you for clearing that up.
To our 3 watchers. Yeah, it's strange to see, like, other than rating, it's strange to see also, like, the way it's evolved. Like, first Evil Dead, low budget, really low budget, like, indie horror, gross out horror film.
Yeah, it takes itself pretty seriously as well.
Pretty much, yeah. Not too much. I think it has a little bit of fun, but yeah, it's not the Evil Dead we all sort of know and love, and that's probably where,
unless you know and love the remake.
Yeah.
In which case, it's pretty much exactly what you
we'll
think of.
We'll get to the remake.
Get to the remake, yes.
And then there's Evil Dead 2, which is, for the most part, sort of takes itself a little bit more seriously. It's got more budget, but like, not more seriously, but it takes itself seriously. But then, like, just because it's so cornball, and like, it eventually devolves into this trashy sort of, like, sort of unintentional comedy.
Yeah, it gets real goofy, especially in part to Bruce Campbell's performance, where he just... he does all these crazy expressions and he's yelling and laughing and running around the place. It definitely creates a goof factor. That's
the funniest thing when I was looking back on clips of the first Evil Dead, is that Bruce Campbell is like... everyone's sort of really trashy and bad. Like, they're not really great actors in the film, but they're trying their hardest. Like, especially that line in the first Evil Dead where Bruce Campbell's like, "Oh, you bastards! Why are you torturing me like this? Why?"
Yeah, I was watching Evil Dead 1 and 2 last night, and I know exactly what you're talking about. They're all, I guess they are all, like, they're very early 20s at the time when they filmed it, I think, and I don't know if they'd done any acting before that. They're just a bunch of friends.
Yeah.
But they do a decent job. But yeah, there's some lines where it's real goofy.
But yeah, Bruce's performance is much better in Evil Dead 2 because he's not being he's being dramatic, but he's not having to rely on so much emotion. He's just getting his ass kicked and he's just having to go crazy. It's just like Raimi's like abusing him all the time. Like he's like sploshing him with blood and like hitting him with tree leaves and then just saying go crazy, Bruce. Just like scream your head off. And
Yeah.
Army of Darkness is probably the Ash that we all like. Toward maybe the last 20 minutes is the Ash that we all come to know and love. But yeah, the Ash Williams character that I almost said Bruce Williams, Bruce Campbell plays is more defined and more memorable in Army of Darkness because he's just random guy in first Evil Dead, and then he becomes Ash, the Ash, in Evil Dead 2, and then he becomes like Duke Nukem's grandfather in Army of Darkness 3.
Yeah, it's funny when you play. I grew up playing Duke Nukem, but I'd never seen the the Evil Dead series. And then when I recently, like I think it was 2 years ago, I first watched Evil Dead. I watched through them, and I went, "Holy shit!" Like every single one-liner from Duke Nukem was just lifted from this movie or this series. It's crazy.
Yeah, like, a lot of the best cheesy, corny one-liners come from the 80s. Like a lot of John Carpenter movies.
Oh, pretty much all of them. That's another thing. I haven't seen They Live. You and I almost watched it on the weekend. One of the lines that's just synonymous with Duke Nukem is the chew bubblegum line.
Yeah.
Which I always thought was just an original thing Duke Nukem said. But no, it's from They Live. So there you go.
I love They Live.
That's kind of the point of Duke's character, though. He is just 80s macho hero, so they steal all these one-liners because he's kind of a parody.
Well,
except if you're playing Duke Nukem, forever the joke's on you for playing it.
Isn't that the one you said where like there's an alien rape dungeon?
Yeah, it goes on forever. That's I remember seeing reviews when the game first came out before I'd played it or really heard of Duke Nukem. I thought this game looks cool. I was just seeing all these reviews saying, "Why did you put this in the game? Why did you put the alien hive where there's just women getting raped everywhere in the game? You're a comedy game. What are you doing?"
And then I remember you were telling me a while back, you were like, there's a bunch of titties on the wall and you can run past and smack them and that gives you health. And like,
Yeah, no, it gives you a health increase. It doesn't just like regain health. It gives you a health increase. For the rest of the game, you have more health by slapping wall boobs. And Duke Nukem giggles to himself, and he says some one-liner about it. It's like, holy shit. I want to touch back on a topic you just brought up before, though, with Evil Dead 2 and how his performance, is more refined, I guess.
Yeah.
I think it's because in the second movie as well, for a lot of it, he's by himself on screen.
Yeah.
There's other characters, but in the first movie, he's with a whole other group of people. There's a group of people in the second one, but they show up later into the movie. So for much of Evil Dead 2, he has to carry the whole movie himself. So he's got to emote a lot more, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, he's got a lot more riding on his shoulders. So yeah, he has to go.
Yeah.
He has to go so over the top. He has to scream like a little girl. He has to go, "Who's laughing now?" and like chop off his hand. And it's
he has to start dancing next to a lamp that's laughing and also dancing with him.
It's actually
one of my favorite scenes. It's so good.
I wouldn't say they're scary. They're not scary movies. They're
funny.
They're funny movies. There's some sort of like kind of disturbing imagery in there occasionally. Like I think
if gore scares you, then you will. The first one, for the most part, you'd probably get scared by. But aside from that, the sequels to the movies, they're mostly a lot of it's for laughs, I guess.
Yeah. Well, the only part of Evil Dead 2 that was actually kind of like. Well, I think his dead girlfriend. That was that
she's dancing around.
When she's dancing around, it's sort of phony, a bit fake, but it's kind of creepy. But the only other thing that was like genuinely kind of creepy is the whole mirror segment where his reflection jumps out at him.
Yeah, sure.
Mostly because most of the laughs in the movie come from either the cheesiness of Bruce Campbell or the phoniness of the effects. But that was actually the most like convincing effect in the entire movie, and I was like, "Oh, that actually genuinely surprised me." It didn't scare me, but I was like, "Oh, that kind of wow."
It didn't spook Jacob. He's a tough cookie to crack.
Well, actually, speaking of tough cookies to crack, what did you think of Ash vs. the Evil Dead? The series,
the TV series. Yeah. I loved it. The third season, I suppose, dropped off a little bit, but in overall, in the third season, I still enjoyed it. But the whole show, I loved. Very upset that it was cancelled.
Yeah, like the Screwhead edition of Army of Darkness. It ends on a sort of cliffhanger note.
A
And
similar ending, yeah.
oh yeah, basically an apocalypse ending, which spoilers. It left you kind of wanting more, and I was surprised. I was like, season 3 was really definitely the drop off point. But like, I think like the reason that was in there, the whole like apocalypse ending, and the whole like sequel bait ending is like, just in case they ever. I hate when they do that. It's like just in case they ever get like renewed. But like, I hate it when like.
Well, no, they had that ending in mind before it was cancelled though. That was going to be the next season of the show. They had it all like planned out of what the next season of the show was going to be. But what I did like is that it works as an ending for the series as well, because it ends similarly to how Army of Darkness ended.
The Screwhead edition, yeah. With this Ex Machina looking robot lady.
Oh, it's fucking weird, but that's the kind of just silly ending that I would expect from Ash vs. Evil Dead, because it's a very, very silly show.
Yeah.
It goes from Evil Dead and Army of Darkness. They are tonally they shift around from being horror to action to comedy. Whereas Ash vs. Evil Dead, I would say in the forefront, it is a comedy.
One of the whole reasons why the original trilogy, the Holy Trinity, as some people would like to put it, the Raimi trilogy, is that like a lot of the laughs come from the phoniness of it all. Like I was noticing when we were watching Army of Darkness that there was this really obvious horse stunt double. Like like one of the wise men characters is like on a horse, and like it's at the beginning of the movie, and one character says "wise man," and the character the actor turns around, he rides over, and then it completely shifts actor. It was a stunt man on a horse. It was so obvious.
Yeah, like someone that doesn't even look remotely similar.
Yeah, and that just made me laugh even harder. I was like, the phoniness of it all made it funny, but with Ash vs. the Evil Dead, it's like they couldn't really get away with so much of the phoniness, so they like the violence is a little bit more defined, a little bit more like, I don't want to say realistic, but
I wouldn't say realistic, but it's
convincing.
It's more modern, I suppose.
Yeah,
the word
more modern, more convincing. So they can't really rely on just, oh, this looks goofy. They kind of have to go so over the top with the violence. Like,
yeah,
like there's entire segments where people get fucking sawn in half, and there's like there's a whole episode where
my favorite moment of the whole thing is in the first season when he sticks a shotgun down someone's throat, lifts them up by the shotgun and fires it so their whole body just explodes, and it's just the head sitting on the end of their gun. It's goofy shit like that. That almost feels very Evil Dead like. Like if they're gonna bring Evil Dead back into the modern day, that's how you do it. Like you wouldn't make the effects like real garbage and shit. You just make it so over the top, because that's pretty Evil Dead fashion. It's just sort of just like an excessive amount of gore and violence to the point where it's just funny. I find that it's hard to recommend Evil Dead to someone our age that hasn't seen it, just because they wouldn't know what to think of it. I think because I feel they wouldn't understand why it's as popular as it is.
Yeah, I was trying to like recommend TV shows to a few friends who I'd met, or a few acquaintances who I've met, and like even my sister, and like she was like, they're all asking like, what have you been watching? And I've been like, oh, Ash vs. the Evil Dead and the Evil Dead movies, I love them. And they're like, oh, would I like him? And I was like, oh geez, I don't know if you'd fucking like them.
Yeah, like I got my roommate to watch Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 with me. He watched Evil Dead and he was like, yeah, it's okay, and he just did not get any enjoyment out of Evil Dead 2, and he stopped watching after like 25 minutes. It's a weird thing to recommend, but it's good. It's really entertaining. It is silly. It's difficult to say how much of the enjoyment is like in an ironic sense, like this is dumb but also good. But I still think they are like legitimately good as well.
Yeah, it is hard to recommend. It is hard to recommend because it's such a niche thing to like. Like a lot of people want like a certain level of quality when they watch movies. So like it's hard to like recommend trashy horror movies and try to explain why they're good and be like, because they're corny and so funny, and like it's like a lot of people sort of want a certain level of realism or a certain level of like seriousness with their films. So like a movie where Yeah, like a Bruce Campbell like saws off a demon's head and then says swallow this and blows a head off. Like yeah, that's
And as well, like I really wanted more people to be watching the show, but to recommend the show, you really need to have watched all the movies as well.
yeah, like it's
Like, you're gonna not get that much enjoyment out of it, or really any enjoyment out of it, if you aren't acquainted with the movies.
yeah, like if you like trashy horror, or if you like violence, or if you're just like some sort of metalhead, or if you like if you don't really take movies that seriously, you'll find enjoyment out of these movies. Like, but if I wouldn't recommend it just to Joe, like John Doe off the street, just fucking
Joe from Blade Runner 2049, you wouldn't recommend it to him?
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it to Kay. I wouldn't recommend it to his fake waifu girlfriend. I wouldn't even. I can imagine recommending that to Harrison Ford. He'd be like, "What the fuck is this? It's bullshit."
Yeah, what's his name? Ryan Gosling. I'll say, is it real?
and that looks like a good franchise, and then gets cancelled. Fucking
Michael Jackson suddenly walks on screen. What was that?
I was trying to do.
Looks like a good franchise.
I was trying to do the You look like a good.
People don't like Evil Dead. That's ignorant.
I was trying to do the you look like
The chick,
the
Ana
chick.
de Armas impression.
The hot Latina waifu girlfriend thing. You look like a
She
good.
is hot.
But so yeah, it sounded like Michael Jackson. For God's sake, man, she's just a girl.
But yeah, Army of Darkness, I would recommend. People should check out the Evil Dead series. It's enjoyable. Particularly, I feel like it'd be great for like a movie night with a bunch of friends.
It's
because it's goofy enough that you can all like laugh at it and have a good time.
Yeah, it's a good like easy watch for like a Halloween night. Like if you want to get scared on a Halloween night, don't watch these. But if you just want to like invite a couple of mates around and have a fucking laugh on a Halloween night, yeah, watch these. I watched these movies out of order. I watched Army of Darkness first, and then I watched 1, 2, and 1 and 2.
Okay, I didn't. I bought the 2-pack of the Evil Deads on DVD a couple of years back. I watched those. Then Army of Darkness was on Netflix. I watched that. The Evil Dead remake was on Netflix. I watched that, and then I immediately got a free trial for Stan and started watching Ash vs. Evil Dead. So I just like binged through the entire Evil Dead everything in like a couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, the good thing about these Evil Dead movies is that you don't really need to watch the one before them. Like it probably like gives you a greater feel and a greater understanding as to what these movies are if you watch 1, 2, watch them in order.
Yeah,
but
yeah, you could really start from any point aside from starting with the TV show, and you can just watch any of the movies. You can watch just any one of them and be like, yes, okay.
Well, Evil Dead 2 and in Army of Darkness both start off with a recap, and they're both like more so Army of Darkness, but Army of Darkness is more of an obvious like narrated recap. But yeah, Evil Dead 2, because of like licensing problems and studio rights and shit like that, they had to like basically remake the first movie the first 15 minutes of Evil Dead 2, and they kind of do the exact same thing in Army of Darkness, where they sort of remake Evil Dead 2 in the first like 15 minutes of Army of Darkness, which in a way like it's kind of frustrating, but like if you watch them back to back, like imagine what you can do with like if you watch these all in just like in one canonical order. Like if you just like cut out the first 15 minutes of Evil Dead 2 and then just like splice all 3 movies together, it'd go through pretty seamlessly, except for the fact that other than the tonal shift and the fact that Bruce Williams looks old. Bruce William. Ash Williams looks older. But Ash Williams looks older by Army of Darkness. But yeah, it's
yes.
It's sort of done in a way where like continuity doesn't fucking matter. But yeah, you could probably edit it all into one big giant movie, and it would actually be pretty seamless. Especially
why didn't you do it then?
It's probably already been done. Fuck it, I don't know what. Why would I do the legwork if it already exists, Lachlan?
Because I don't know. We have more things to talk about, Jacob.
Yes. Evil Dead, the remake.
Okay, we're moving straight from Evil Dead to Evil Dead. So the next night, we watched a bunch of movies, one of which was the remake of Evil Dead, the original movie remade in 2013, I believe. You had never seen it. I owned it. I'd only seen it once beforehand, and I kind of had forgotten most of it. So it was kind of a new experience for me as well.
Yeah.
What did you think?
I didn't mind it. Yeah, I thought it was actually pretty decent for a remake. Yeah, like Ash vs. the Evil Dead, the violence in it is much more convincing, and it's goofy because it's like Ash vs. the Evil Dead. It's goofy because it's over the top and it's just so excessive. But yeah, it's done more for like not for like joyous.
It's played for laughs in Ash vs. Evil Dead.
Yeah,
though.
it's played for laughs. It's more like gets you uncomfortable in Evil Dead. Like the Evil Dead remake is kind of like the first Evil Dead is like genuinely trying to make you feel uncomfortable and trying to make you feel gross.
A lot of the new Evil Dead, the remake, I found I was very uncomfortable and kind of just disgusted because it feels a lot like half the movie is just like torture porn basically. It's just like people cutting off limbs and all this crazy shit.
People cutting their tongues in half. Yeah, I like the setup of the movie, okay, but like I don't know. I have to rewatch the first Evil Dead, but I found like a lot of the supporting characters, except for the leading girl, to be just sort of meh.
Yeah, sure. However, I do really like the leading girl as an actress. I've seen her in another thing. I'm trying to remember what it was. It was a TV show. It was a comedy TV show, and she was funny in it.
The Emma Stone-ish lookalike.
The Emma Stone-ish lookalike, and you know me, I'm a fan of anybody that looks similar to Emma Stone, especially Emma Stone.
That voice quiver at the end. Emma Stone.
Emma Stone. Oh.
Would you want to get stoned with Emma Stone? Would you?
No, but I would like to fuck Emma Stone.
Yeah. But yeah, the Emma Stone lookalike was.
What the fuck was that? What was that noise?
I don't know, mate. I think that was probably my seedy laugh.
Oh, was it? You were just like talking, and I was like, "Rah!"
Probably. But yeah,
it scared me. It was spooky.
Yes.
Spooky episode.
Should we put in like a spooky warning before when you edit this? Just like be warned, Jacob does the spook. So if you have a heart condition,
Evil Dead. It is a lot more violent. However, in this, it feels like a mix of both the first and the second Evil Dead movies.
Yeah.
In the way that the first hour or so feels very serious. It's really gory and it's trying to be a scary horror movie. And the final 30 minutes, I don't want us to spoil it because I think that's the whole part that makes the movie worth watching. Just goes so batshit fucking insane. It's brilliant.
Dude, it's the most fucking metal ending to a movie I've ever seen. It's so wonderfully, not campy, but so wonderfully over the top and so wonderfully violent and just so wonderfully excessive. It's like, this is like heroin to like horror junkies. Like it's like it goes from like standard remake just to absolute trash in a matter of like minutes, and it's like
it has such a sudden shift from where it's Evil Dead and then it just drifts off rails to this absolute madness.
I would say though, like if you were to show the Evil Dead remake to anybody today, they'd probably think it's over violent and big excessive, but they'd probably find it a little bit more scary than the original. But
I think it is.
Yeah.
But that's just because we didn't grow up when Evil Dead came out, so we grew up in the time that Evil Dead the remake came out, and that's similar to other movies that came out around its time.
Well, yeah, like the standards are different now.
Yes, absolutely.
There are some legitimately creepy looking things from the new one, but one of the things I liked a lot about the original Evil Dead this is where it probably has a foot over the new one, is that it is low budget, so it's really kind of charming in a really schlocky sort of campy sort of way, but even though it sort of tries to take itself seriously, but it's sort of not really that self-inflicted. It's more like accidental. Like it's the way the evil is brought upon the characters in Evil Dead 1 is that they play.
Yes, I like it more than the super generic way that the remake does it.
Yeah, the remake is just like this English teacher who can read really well just suddenly can translate fucking ancient Sumerian texts.
What I do like I think the remake does better. The reason they're in the cabin, I think, is better. Well, maybe not better, but I really liked the reasoning for them being there.
Oh yeah.
The setup of the movie, I think, works better. Also, the reason that they can't leave, which is basically the same thing, makes more sense.
I can't remember.
I
can't remember the reason in the original Evil Dead why they can't leave. Is it because, I remember in Evil Dead 2 was like the road disappeared.
Oh yeah, it's the same in both movies. The bridge is gone, but I like in the remake that the road just floods over and it's like a rapid river going past. So there's no way of you getting past that. It's more natural and less spooky, but I just like the way that it felt more real in that sense.
Yeah, and I think the new one has a lot of like convincing effects and a lot of good atmosphere. Like it's really foggy, but like the one thing that I didn't really buy into is that they said in the new the remake that it was a family-owned cabin, right?
Yeah, they did. They're like, oh, I remember spending summers here, blah, blah, blah.
But
which doesn't really make much sense.
It doesn't make much sense because there's fucking witchcraft and dead cats down below, and like when they walk in, they're like, what's that smell? And like this probably only happened, like, the whole witchcraft thing probably happened like a couple hundred years ago. Like, how the...
No, they shoot a shotgun down there, so it can't have been that long ago.
Well...
I suppose they had shotguns a while ago, but I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be not that long ago that it happens.
True. I guess there's some leeway, but like it's probably the setup of like we got to keep this girl from this heroin addict, the Emma Stone heroin addict, from we're trying to like isolate her so that she can overcome her heroin addiction. It was probably a little bit more convincing than just the original, where it's like, we're teenagers and we're gonna go to a cabin for the weekend and camp, but it's just like this really fucking scary.
Well, that of course that spawned a whole like subgenre of horror of people going to cabins. So despite how goofy that premise is, that suddenly became the premise of like a million different horror movies.
But yeah, but it's more convincing as to how they stumbled upon the evil in the original, where it's just sort of like, it's downstairs. Like they apparently were like, oh, we found a cabin that looks like it probably would be a good place to spend a night.
Sure.
And then they accidentally stumble upon it. But in the new one, it's like, this cabin's been in our family for generations and blah blah blah. It's like you probably would have noticed that at some point. Like
probably yes.
Yeah.
Another thing I do like in the remake, I suppose it's a similar thing in the original movie. I suppose all the characters in the original movie are all characters, and it's not sort of one main character. The new movie doesn't do that, but it does kind of trick you with who the main character is. Yeah,
there's even an Ash lookalike, but even though he's less charismatic or funny, but like he's wearing like the same blue shirt, and like they even have like a hero, like a sort of heroish moment. But yeah, they subvert expectations in a way.
We say this a lot on the show, but I think it's done well the way they do that, because they trick you into believing this character is going to be the main character, and then it's like, no, but it's going to be this character. It's like, no, it is this character, but oh, what if it's this character? You know what I mean?
Yeah, they pulled an alien on us. They were like, Dallas is going to be the main character. Oh no, it's Ripley. Like they pulled the Last Girl. It's in one way it's a subversion of expectations, because if you're an Evil Dead fan, well, I guess any audience would feel this way, but if you're an Evil Dead fan, you're probably like, oh, this is the Ash Williams 2.0. But then again, it sort of turns into a bit of a cliche ending, like most horror movies sort of end with a Last Girl-ish thing. But speaking of Last Girl, have you seen Halloween?
Nice segue. So, if you're any sort of movie-watching person at all, you will know that a much-anticipated sequel to a incredibly famous horror movie came out, last week or 2 weeks ago at this point? 2 weeks ago. Jacob, did you die?
Jacob?
What the hell?
Jacob, are you still alive? Oh. Jacob?
The fuck just happened? What the... Yeah, sorry, but my internet literally just dropped out and turned off.
I just sat there crying for a little while. It's okay.
Well, I'm so sorry. That's probably going to be so much like on your shoulders.
It's okay. It's fine. I'll deal with it. Anyway, the new Halloween movie has come out, a direct sequel to the original movie, which removes all sequels from existence because they were all bad.
Yes, I haven't seen them. The Halloween
Neither have I, but the general consensus is that they all suck ass.
I don't really have any interest in seeing them though. But Halloween, the first one by John Carpenter.
Halloween, yes.
We watched that first.
John
and
Carpenter's Halloween from 1978.
Yes, a wonderful movie. I was expecting a gore fest, but it was actually more of a thriller.
Yeah. It's considering, I suppose, it's got the R rating on the cover, so it makes you expect. But that's just 70s for you. Everything with like a scrap of blood is rated R. In fact, that's really all the movie has, like a red line on someone's arm at one point. But so we're expecting it to be more violent. Neither of us had seen it prior to a week ago. I ended up seeing both the original and the new sequel twice each last week.
Yeah, it's because I enjoyed them. Yeah. I was kind of like a little bit. I don't want to say disappointed after John Carpenter's, but now I have reflected. Oh, for fuck's sake! Hang on. I'm so sorry. Hello.
Jacob is completely unprofessional, and I'm firing him at the end of this episode.
The fucking just hung up on me.
Oh dear.
Jesus Christ.
So, what were we saying?
I was just saying I'm about to punch a motherfucker out. It's Nathan. That's who's trying to call me. Yo, Nate. This pissed me off. I was like, we're going to go see it tomorrow. And then she's like, I'm working late tomorrow. I'm like, oh. Call me back in about maybe 2 hours, alright? Because I'm doing a podcast with Lachlan. We'll just have to see. If he can't make it, then fuck it. We'll just go anyway. Like, I knew they would come to bite me on the ass. I just fucking knew it. Like,
That's all right. I got some good clips that I can put into the podcast. I'll edit them in.
no, please. that was private, and you've got to leave it. You know, this phone will not stop fucking ringing. Like, does anybody know how to stop scammers from ringing me? I'm sick of people pretending to be Telstra, then just saying, yeah, my name is Dave. It's like, no, it's not. Of course it's not.
Hello, my name is Dave.
My name is Dave. I got kicked off the
Is your
Simpsons.
refrigerator running?
Just like you just hear like his colleagues in the background fucking laughing.
Hi, my name is not Chris. Why are you not Stockmanized?
Well, actually, earlier that made me laugh. He said like I grew up with something, and I was just like we did not grow up with Halloween though.
Anyway, Halloween.
Yeah, we Halloween, the original by John Carpenter. It was more of a thriller, and I was expecting gore, which is why I was a little bit disappointed. I was like, oh, this is a very tame movie. But then again, it was actually more of a thriller, more tense. And I was like, actually, it's pretty masterfully done for like
It's
low
a
budget.
very well made, very well crafted movie.
Very well crafted, low budget movie. Yeah, it's you reckon it stands the test of time?
I would say it does. It's not, in terms of horror movies, especially today, it's very different to what you see today. But I think that the way it's done, it works very well with what it does.
Yeah. Like I like Jamie Lee Curtis in it. She was good. You got to see Jamie Lee Curtis in person, didn't you?
I did. I want to touch on that in a few moments, but we'll finish up talking about the original movie, and then I'll touch on it once we start talking about the new one.
Yes. Yeah. The original. It's well done. Like I think like one of the things that still like kind of like Jaws is one of the things that still makes it so sort of creepy and endearing is the fact that, well, one, the idea of and the concept is pretty creepy, but also the musical score itself still is really, really unsettling.
Yes.
So
and specifically for me, the thing that makes it creepy is the way it's filmed. It's all these really overly long, really unnerving shots. They just feel like they go on for too long, but not in the way that it's bad, in the way that it makes you like just feel.
The John Carpenter slow burn. I think that's one of my favorite type of horror movies. Like when the camera lingers for a long time.
Yeah, it feels like it's lingering for too long. And you're like, stop this, move on, please.
Yeah. Horror movies especially linger on maybe just like something very simplistic, or like especially Carpenter does this. It'll linger on like nothing, or just like a hallway, or anything, just like for a little bit too long, and you're like, since your eyes are sort of scanning the screen, we're just sort of like looking. We're kind of like looking for something on the screen, so we're sort of like waiting for something to happen, and that's a good way to
Yeah.
create tension. It's not cheap. It's very effective because like especially hallways are pretty creepy anyway. Like yeah, if you just stare like if the camera is like pointing down a hallway and you're just staring at it for a long time, you're sort of like your eyes and you're already unsettled by the fact that it's a horror movie. You're already sort of like, okay, which door is that fucking psychopath gonna walk out of? But yeah.
Also, I think, well, just before I say that, yeah, specific shots like the first time Michael Myers, the killer, sees Laurie Strode. She's just walking down the street singing, and he just steps into view and just stands there next to the camera, just breathing through his mask for just like 30 seconds, watching her walk away. And it's just really...
Yeah, the breathing sound that they used for Michael Myers in the original is actually probably the scariest thing about him.
Yeah, it's very, very creepy. But also, I think Michael Myers, he's a very simple character, but he's a very effective character.
Yeah, he is.
By not speaking at all, it makes him very unnerving. The way they talk about him, he's just evil incarnate. He's got no soul, no moral compass or anything. He just wants to kill. It's a very creepy setup for a character.
Very little motivation other than kill, kill, kill.
Yeah,
and it's
and I know that's what the sequels change. They give him more motivation, things like that. They throw in all these wacky things. Spoiler: he's Jamie Lee Curtis's brother, and all this stupid shit. Which thankfully the new movie gets rid of, because that's dumb. That's seriously stupid. That takes away from the original.
I think it was in a way kind of like an attempt to justify why he picks on Jamie Lee Curtis like to a certain extent, but like if you're gonna kill someone, like and you plan to kill someone, if you just see someone on the street and you're like, I'm not saying I've ever done this, but like yeah, if a psychopath is like, okay, I'm gonna kill someone, okay, I've seen that person, you probably wouldn't be like, oh no, forget about it. He's a killer and he just has no motivation, he just wants to kill, but like he's being smart about it. Like that makes sense. Like he's not just like, I'm just gonna kill everyone I see. He's like, I'm just gonna wait until the person who I've just picked on is hiding, or if or is in a vulnerable state, because I'm not just gonna murder someone in the middle of the street because I'll get fucking caught.
Yeah, that's also what I really like about the remake. I keep calling it fucking remake. The new movie, the sequel,
Yes.
Is that they make it a point of showing. They show a lot more Michael in the new one, but they make a point of showing that he just picks and chooses people at random.
Yep.
It's not, I have a vendetta against this certain person. This certain person is related to me. I want to kill them. It's he goes into someone's house, kills them. There's another person in the house who he kills, and then he leaves this other person alone and just moves on and finds someone else to kill. It's just, I want to kill this person. This person looks good. I'm not feeling this person.
Yeah, because if he really wanted to just randomly kill people, he would have just killed some of the kids on the street. Yeah, or he would have just like, like especially in the first Halloween when he's waiting outside the school and he's like lingering around. He's kind of like stalking and taunting his prey.
Oh yeah, he's driving past. What is his name? Tommy. He's driving alongside, watching Tommy.
Yeah,
but he decides against it and he just moves on.
Yeah, so it's not like what he's doing is completely random. It's just that, yeah, like if he sees you and he wants to kill you, he's like, okay, I'm probably just gonna wait around for a little bit and then I'm gonna kill you. So yeah, it is random, but it's just more methodical and more thought out.
It's random, but not lol random XD. I'm gonna kill this person. He decides, he picks and chooses, sort of at random, but still, yeah, like you said, there's method to his madness.
Yes, to his blunt madness. Although one of the things is I did not expect is like we see young Michael as a kid in the first movie, but they kind of do a face reveal in the first movie, and it's still sort of dark and obscured a bit. But I was like, oh, I didn't expect that, which is why
he has like this weird like fucked up looking face.
Yeah, but he's like, no, to be honest, he's actually more like, I don't know, homo. But he's actually kind of handsome, but kind of in a creepy way. He's like, oh, this psycho killer kind of just looks like.
In the original, I think you're remembering wrong. He has like a fucked up eyeball.
Well, yeah, it's because Jamie Lee Curtis stabbed him in the eye.
Oh, okay. I never even thought of that. Right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, don't you remember that? Like, yeah, she stabs him in the eye, but
yeah, she stabs him in the eye. Yeah. Spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers.
The movie's 40 years old, but that's as far as we'll go in terms of spoilers. The important thing is Jamie Lee Curtis is the sole survivor of the event, and that brings us to
It's your own fucking fault. The movie's 40 years old. Get over it.
Yeah, so Jamie Lee Curtis, she's the sole survivor of the quote-unquote the babysitter murders is what they're known as in the new movie. A bunch of her friends are killed. She survives. Fast track to 40 years later, we have ourselves a sequel. So I had, like I said, I'd never seen the original movie, so I bought the original movie, I watched it, and then I got myself some tickets to go see an advanced screening of the new movie, along with Jamie Lee Curtis appearing live on stage for a Q&A, and it was really awesome.
Word on the street is you sniffed her feet.
He keeps saying this. He keeps bringing up this joke, and I don't get it. I don't know why, but you need to stop, my friend.
Yes, but yeah, you told me your first screening was pretty bad, right? Because you were in such a weird corner.
Yeah, I had a fantastic time at the event, and I thoroughly enjoyed the movie, but I did my best to get a front row seat, which meant that I was in the front row, but I was right on the very right-hand side, so I was just craning my neck up and, directly up and to the left to watch the movie, so I was happy to watch the movie a second time when you and I did. But overall, I had a great time going there. Jamie Lee Curtis was really, really funny. She said she went into a few topics that I wasn't expecting to openly talk about.
What was she talking about?
It wasn't a regular Q&A where the audience asks her things. It was questions picked off a page.
Oh yeah.
But at one point she was asked about she was talking about people in Hollywood. And someone called out the name of someone that's been outed as an offender in Hollywood. Oh. And she was like, all right, I'll get to that piece of shit in a moment. And she was she started talking about all this stuff. And she's going on about, I guess, female empowerment and things like that. And then after a while, she's just like, I know what everyone in the audience is thinking. Shut the fuck up. We want to see Michael Myers murder people. Just shit like that. I didn't think that it was her talking about this. I didn't think it was this annoying thing. Yeah, you have to talk about this. This is terrible. Shut up. It was fine what she was talking about. But I also enjoyed that she acknowledged that people are probably gonna be thinking, why are you talking about this? Move on.
Yeah, how long was the Q&A for?
I think it probably went for about 30 minutes.
Well, yeah, I guess she probably had to fill out time, but yeah,
I suppose.
And pick off people from the long laundry list of Hollywood sex offenders. So.
Yeah, she mentioned Spacey and no, sorry, she didn't mention Spacey. She mentioned Weinstein. She was talking about a few different things, made some funny jokes. I learnt a few things about her, what's his name, Jake Gyllenhaal. Mm-hmm. I think I'll have to listen. I recorded the first 5 minutes of what she said. It was, I believe, Jake Gyllenhaal she was talking about. She said he was her godson.
Oh, really?
Which I did not know. It was either Jake Gyllenhaal or Ryan Gosling, but I think it was Jake Gyllenhaal. And she said that it was him that actually convinced her to be in the new Halloween movie because she thought she was completely done with the Halloween series, especially since her character died in one of the sequels. But what's his name? Jake had worked with the director David Gordon Green, and he said he showed her the script. He said, would you be interested? Take a look at this. And she was like, yes, okay, Jake Gyllenhaal, my godson. And she read it. She was like, yeah, all right, I'll do this. But she has officially said that this will be her final movie that she appears in for Halloween.
Thankfully. I mean, so I guess one of the two Hollywood pretty boys, Ryan Gosling or Jake Gyllenhaal, is her godson. I did not know that.
I didn't know that either. I was very surprised to hear that, and a bunch of people cheered when she said his name. So I'm thinking it was Jake. It's probably because, as we said at the very start of Discheads, Jake Gyllenhaal is a very attractive man.
Yeah. It was probably me. I snuck into the premiere, and I was like, "Yeah, Jake, my boy."
Maybe it was. Maybe it wasn't you. Maybe it was Mickey Mouse. Like, Jake, show me your ass.
Show me that pretty boy Hollywood ass. Spread him for me.
Dude, it'll never get old. I'm pretty sure it's been old since we first made the joke, but it'll never stop being referenced.
Well, yeah, probably till episode 100. We're probably going to get raped live on air by a guy in a Mickey Mouse outfit.
We'll do a live show, and Mickey Mouse comes on stage and just violates us. Literally violates us, and everyone just in the audience is shocked.
It'll just be a reenactment of the basement scene in Pulp Fiction, and he'll be going, "Oh yeah, fuck yeah!" like putting ball gags in.
Bring out the gimp.
It's just Goofy with in full on leather. Gosh.
But yeah, had a good time. I got to see Jamie Lee Curtis live, and it was really cool. Oh, one other thing she did mention,
Was her feet?
which I have told you about, but for the audience, she said, it was like the very first thing she said when she got up on stage. Are there any 8-year-olds in the audience? At my previous showing, I was just doing my thing, cracking some jokes, and I said the F word. And as soon as I did, I looked down into one of the first few rows, and I see this 8-year-old kid looking at me, and I'm like, oh no, and I start to feel bad about it. And then I think, what the hell is an 8-year-old kid doing here? Like, do you know what movie you're going to go see? And then at the very end of her Q&A, she said, and if there's any parents who have 8-year-old kids here in the audience, fuck you. You deserve to go to prison. And that is why I was very surprised, because thankfully in my screening there were no children, as there should not be.
Of course.
You and I, when we went to go see the sequel, in the row directly behind us, what did we have behind us, Jacob?
A gurgling child under 5. Probably.
Yes, I think 2 children. One was maybe 5 or 6. The other one was like 3. I was appalled.
Literally, like the 3-year-old, I heard him, he was going, and I was just like, oh no, who the fuck brought a baby? And like, I turned to you and I was like, who the fuck brought a baby? And I felt bad about it because like the guy behind me was like, make him shut up. He's gonna ruin the movie. I was just like,
But, oh man, we talked about before how the original movie it's very restrained in its violence. This new movie, why would you take a child to see this? It is incredibly gory. It's got swearing, it's got sex and drugs. What were you thinking?
just to add insult to injury, when we left the theater, there was a fucking pram in the corner. There was near the bin. I was just like,
Just sitting there at the exit to like the door.
I just felt like screaming to the lady behind us, why the fuck didn't you just leave the baby in the pram by the door?
Don't take your children to movies. I imagine, Jacob, if you were 4 or 5 years old and you had gone to see this movie, what would you have thought?
I probably would have thought, Jesus Christ, what a violent, scary movie.
Yeah, I would not have enjoyed it. I wouldn't, like you and I, we laughed and cheered at some of the gore in the new movie. If I had been a child and seen this, I would have probably been scarred and like having nightmares for weeks on end. I would have been terrified.
Well, to be fair, I didn't cheer. Cheering's for...
Sorry.
for followers.
Cheering is for my screening that I went to where Jamie Lee was there. Every time something happened, there was cheering and woo! And it was the only time I've ever been okay with it. Because I felt justified with the crowd. They weren't like shouting quotes or all this stupid shit. They were just enjoying the movie and having a good time. And I was enjoying it as well. I was cheering and wooing as well.
Take note, asshole Evil Dead fans.
Yes.
Yeah,
There's a time and place, and Army of Darkness screening was not it.
Well, it should have been, but he was just obnoxious, the fucking guy.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
And it's just like the rest of the people, every time he shouts, they like kind of uncomfortably laugh. They're like, haha, yeah.
So what did you think of Halloween 2018?
I almost said it. I almost said the thing I say in every damn episode.
I thought
I'm not going to.
great.
I thought it was great. No, seriously, I'm very close to saying I loved it. It has some issues with it, but for the most part, it was incredibly enjoyable.
Yes, it was. I think I had a pretty solid time with it. It's probably not as... there's some things I liked about it a lot, but I think maybe the first Halloween was probably more tense.
Sure, yeah. Although I did find... I find the original is more tense, but the original's not that scary. I did get a few scares out of the new movie, which I was surprised to get, I suppose, coming from a 2018 horror movie based on a 40-year-old franchise. I really wasn't expecting much scares in it, but there are a few bits that you like jump at.
Yeah, no, I was fine. I was fine with the scares, I reckon. Although, yeah, like I reckon do you reckon this movie takes a lot of influences from the first Halloween, but also takes influences from like other horror movies and other like franchises. Like, I was very, very. It was very reminiscent of Terminator 2 with Jamie Lee Curtis' character.
Sure. The way Laurie Strode's character has evolved and changed in between the first and second movie. Yes.
Just turns into a major gun nut and just sort of like kind of an unlikable, mentally ill sort of person.
Yeah. So the premise of the movie in this one, Laurie Strode, she survived the original event 40 years ago. Michael Myers has gone back into his like insane asylum.
That's sort of less... That's the one thing I kind of didn't like about this. It's just sort of kind of lessens the effect of the ending of the original, the fact that he just sort of gets thrown into prison.
True, but to be fair, that original then led itself to a million sequels that... that original ending, I mean, it led itself to a million sequels where Michael Myers comes back and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, true.
To remove all of those, you need to kind of reset what actually happened, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so, but yeah. It's just sort of like, he escaped. Oh no, cliffhanger. And then next movie,
Yeah,
they caught
but
him.
I guess what the new sequel's doing, it redoes what the original movie starts with. It's Michael Myers. He's evil incarnate, locked up. Donald Pleasance in the original says, I never want him to be released ever. And of course he does get released. And he wants to go wreak havoc. But Laurie, who is now like mental, she's lost it since then. She's very mentally scarred by what happened 40 years ago. So she's spent her life basically preparing herself for when he breaks out again.
Yeah. Even though like there's no indication from him that he has any vendetta against her, which may be a downside to some people or an upside to some people, which I think for me I didn't care about it so much because like it just seemed like the biggest problem with her was herself, not necessarily Michael, because Michael couldn't give a fuck about her.
Well, he does in the sense that once he sees her, he sees, that's my target that I picked. She is still alive. She still needs to be killed.
True, but like the fact that she cares so much about Michael, and the fact that like he's just like he's not looking for her, but like I guess there might be some sort of residual angst against her from him, but like it's the fact that she is so hell-bent on killing Michael.
Yeah,
but like he just doesn't...
It's her own vendetta. It's not a two-way thing. It's solely this is her mission.
Yeah, which could have been developed a little bit better. I reckon if I guess the way the movie sort of goes about it is sort of like the fact that she is so out against Michael in this way. It's just sort of like her only way of overcoming her madness, which could be good, but there's probably other ways they could have explored that idea.
Yeah, I do like it. I do like the way it's been done though, because I think it works well with Michael's character.
Yeah.
Because you find multiple characters in this movie think that they have some sort of personal connection with Michael, and he demonstrates time and time again, no, I don't give a fuck about any of you. I am a psychopathic murderer, and that is all that I am.
and the film states it over and over again. Like they're like, say something. It's like, I'm not talking to you. I don't fucking like you.
I think Michael will talk to you, and Michael's like, I don't fucking talk. I haven't talked in 40 years. Just, I'm not gonna do it. No, actually, he hasn't talked in 55 years. He hasn't talked since he killed his sister.
Oh yeah, true.
They said in the new movie he hasn't said a word in 40 years, but he actually hasn't. In the original movie, he hasn't said a word in 15 years, so it's 55 years. Get your shit right, movie.
Oh yeah, actually, now that you mention it, not speaking, but he doesn't... They don't have a face reveal in this one either. They show
they
partial
show
glimpse.
parts of his face, and what I did like is they got the original actor, who has since... He doesn't play Michael in the new movie, but when they show shots of the face, they use the original actor. They got him to be there when they show his face.
Yeah, which I was surprised. I thought since it was sort of like a quasi reboot, they'd probably do the same thing where like they do like a minor face reveal towards maybe the end of the movie, but they don't really. But
it's good. It's good. I like that it's not trying to reinvent the franchise. Some people might hate this in the way that it's similar to the original movie, but I liked that.
Yeah,
It didn't have to reinvent the wheel to be a sequel. It could just be a well-made sort of sequel.
Yeah, but I think that's where I'm hearing some of the complaints about it is just that a lot of people didn't find it very surprising, or in the fact that it was so back to basics. It was a turn-off to some people, and I was like, I didn't really mind it. I was just sort of kind of in the mood for just simple graphic horror that weekend.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe upon second viewing it might be lessened a little bit, but yeah,
Well,
like it was
I personally have seen it twice within a week, and I thoroughly enjoyed it both times. I was able to, I saw people's complaints after I watched it the first time, and I was able to watch it a second time with those complaints in mind. And some of them I can see where they're coming from, but I don't think it lessened the enjoyment of the movie for me on second viewing.
Do you think that the violence, especially the extreme violence in this movie and the lack thereof in the first movie, which one do you reckon was more effective, the lack of or the more of?
I think that the lack of in the original is probably more just the time period, if I'm being honest. Because it got an R rating just from that. I think that if it was maybe made in the 80s instead of the late 70s, it might have been different.
True.
So in that regard, I think Well, I feel like the violence in the new movie is more played as entertainment.
Yeah.
So
actually,
in
yeah.
that regard, I think it works better in the new movie because it is completely different. Like we watched them back to back. We watched the original and then straight away went to the movies. Literally less than half an hour after the original one finished playing, we went and saw a new one. They're completely opposite ends of the scale, from very reserved to suddenly very gratuitous. But I enjoyed the gratuitousness of the original, of the new one, more than the original.
Yeah, I thought it was more fitting for this because Michael is such a blunt and brutal character.
Yeah.
Like, he just strangles people, he just stabs people. I was like, oh, there's probably, and he just fucking stomps on people. It's like, yeah, there's probably, I'm not opposed to the fact that there's more violence in this. In fact, it was a bit more impactful. The movie has also Dave Gordon Green, right? The director.
Yes, David Gordon Green.
He did like what, Pineapple Express, shit like that.
I actually have no idea. I haven't investigated.
Well, there's some very like it was co-written by Danny McBride, which I thought was a weird pairing.
Very weird when you see Danny McBride's name appear on there, but I suppose it's in tune with what's been happening with horror movies lately. Like, you've got Jordan Peele directing Get Out, you got John Krasinski, who is famous for being on The Office, directing A Quiet Place. Seems to be a thing that just these comedian sort of people are coming out of the woodwork to make horror movies.
Maybe they're testing their dark side, kind of like with Michael Keaton, like with Batman, where he's just like, people will think I'm a good Batman, and then he just like kind of knocks it out of the park in Batman '89.
You've kind of given me an erection by saying that Keaton knocks it out of the park in '89, but we'll ignore that and keep going.
I can keep on going. I can get you to climax.
No, that's okay. I should be able to last. Keep it going till the end of the podcast, and I'll sort that out once we're done.
Oh, so you want to keep it going to the end? You want to make it an adventure? You don't want to like play all your cards, so they say. In a few minutes. Yeah. Right. Okay. I'll be gentle on your erection.
You know, people on YouTube, they keep talking about doing a face reveal. Like, I'm not doing a head reveal this quick.
Yes. So Halloween. That's the reason why I brought up David Gordon Green and Danny McBride is because there's moments of comedy and levity throughout the movie.
There is, yes. Some hit, some miss.
Yes. There's a little black kid in the movie who I thought was pretty funny.
I thought he was very funny. The dad character, I didn't find funny at all,
neither.
really.
I'm not sure if that's just like a consequence of him being like a lame dad stereotype, even though. But there's also a
but his jokes weren't lame dad jokes. They were just weird jokes, like, oh, there's peanut butter on my penis, and everybody in the cinema laughed. It's like, it's not that funny.
I know he's got peanut butter.
He said the PP word.
The PP very hard.
There's a bit later. I don't know if you noticed. I only noticed it the second time watching. When they're out having dinner, he's talking to the daughter's girlfriend. The daughter's boyfriend. He's talking about how he went and tripped balls out in the wood with the kid's dad when they were teenagers. I was like, this is just sort of. This isn't really dad conversation that this guy's having.
Yeah, it's real weird. There's a scene later on with cops and they're talking about sandwiches and
that's that certain bit. I didn't mind it that much because it's because it doesn't go for very long. I've seen a lot of people complaining about that scene. I'm like, it's fairly unobtrusive. It's the dad that mostly I didn't find funny. But yeah, the little black kid, I thought he was very funny.
Well, I think the reason why the cop scene was so irritating to me, even though it's so very short, like you said, it's just like such a dumb conversation. It's like, I made sandwich. Do you make sandwich?
Yeah.
No, did you?
It adds nothing to the movie.
It's like very like, I don't know, Pineapple-y Express or like very comedy sort of dialogue. Like not like just generic conversation sort of funny. It's sort of like I'm writing like there's two cops in a car in a comedy. That's why it felt really bad to me and felt really like out of place. The
only reason it's even in there is because they had to establish these two cops so that they could be killed off in the next scene.
Spoilers, but yeah.
I mean, that's basically it. It's not really spoiling much.
Yeah, not spoiling much, but yeah, the way they get axed off is pretty
Oh
brutal.
yeah, it's spectacular. There's a lot of spectacular deaths in this new movie. That's why I think the gore is more. I appreciate it more in the new movie compared to the restraint shown in the original, because the gore is incredibly over the top and silly, but great in the new movie.
Going back to the comedy thing, there's a few lines that sort of like allude to how sort of dated maybe the first Halloween kind of is, or like the Halloween franchise is, because like there's a line where one of the characters says, he killed 6 people or whatever the hell the number was, but by today's standards, that's not really that bad.
Yeah, and you're talking about how the teenagers say that in the movie.
Yeah, so in a sense, that kind of justifies why the film is sort of so violent and kind of excessive, because it's like, oh, well, the original Halloween or the franchise wouldn't be that scary because he only kills a few people in a very...
Yeah.
To a modern audience,
I think
that's just
why
not shocking.
the first movie kind of relates, though, because it feels like a real sort of event that could happen. It's not this crazy, ridiculous massacre. It's this murderer goes into a few people's homes and stabs them, and then he gets arrested, and it's like, well, shit, that does happen.
Yeah, well, they do puss out though. They tease the fact that he's gonna kill a baby, and they never do it. Bunch of pussies.
That's good though. They didn't need to kill the baby. They do surprise you at multiple points in the movie. You think he's not this far where he would do such a thing, and then he does do it. I don't want to spoil, but like the first kill of the movie, it comes as kind of a surprise. You're not sort of expecting him to do what he does.
In terms of like general like tense scenes, I think the most tense scene in the movie, the scene I think that was probably the most tense was the women's bathroom scene, which is, I think it's in the trailer, but
it is in the trailer, but it still was quite effective in the movie, I thought.
It's quite effective. It's quite creepy, but yeah, that's probably the best thing about it. The teenage characters were a little obnoxious, but I could handle them.
Yeah, they weren't to the point where I hated them, which is a very common problem in modern horror movies, where it's just these characters, I just want them all to die. I think they did it a bit better in this movie. They're still sort of annoying, but they weren't the worst, if that makes sense.
Yeah. There's like a douchebag boyfriend character who never gets brought up again.
Yeah, he does the douchebag thing, and then he just doesn't appear again in the movie, which was a strange decision. But I suppose it's just so that they could have a reason to give her a reason to leave that place and go to where she needs to be.
Now that you mention that, like the movie, like in order to get characters from A to B, a lot of the events that take place feel very forced. Like
I suppose, yeah, sure.
It's very kind in a way. Like the new Loomis character.
Loomis.
You're the new Loomis. I reckon he was. I won't spoil what he did or what he does, but yeah, the twist with him was just so goofy and cheesy to the point where I was like, the realism and sort of like, you know, he said like the first movie was sort of like realistic and like, oh, this could have happened. Like it could have just been like a murder. It felt so sort of grounded. That twist just felt so bizarre and out of place, and it just felt like an excuse to get a character from A to B, and I was like,
and it goes nowhere. It very quickly gets thrown away.
It very quickly, in a very satisfying.
Yes, I did actually kind of like the fact that they throw it aside so quick because of what the character's trying to do, and then the movie says, well, you can't do that, and it just stops him from doing it, basically.
It's like the movie was like, oh, we pulled a fast, he pulled the rug out from everyone, was like, we thought this was going to happen, no, it's not going to happen. Like
it pulled the rug out from under you in your generation old family house, and little did you know that underneath the rug was a trapdoor.
Oh, and there was some dead fucking cats hanging from the ceiling, and a book wrapped up in cellophane. This is Evil Dead remake
joke again to people who don't know what we're talking about. But no, I think the first viewing I thought it was kind of silly. On my second viewing, I actually liked, because you could see hints of it throughout the movie. The movie sort of hinted at it, but not in a way that you're going to notice it on the first watch through, which I kind of actually enjoyed about it. And I thought it's kind of silly, but I didn't hate that whole little character arc plot twist thing.
I reckon if it wasn't done in such an over the top way, I would have been more forgiving of it, but it's just just sort of like brazen out of nowhere and just sort of like goofy. Like I was like, oh, that doesn't really belong here. Other than that, it was a pretty satisfying, crowd pleasing sort of like horror movie. Like it's making a lot of money at the moment.
I'm glad that it is. I don't know. I am and I'm not. Well, of course, I'm always happy that a movie that I enjoy makes money. I'm just concerned that it will rekindle this franchise into being a big like sequel pumping franchise again.
Oh yeah, this whole thing, this whole Halloween franchise, it only needs to be this one and the original. This is the only duology they need.
Yeah, and I'd be perfectly happy with that, because I think that the second one is a what's the word I'm looking for? Not faithful, quite. It's a good follow-up. It's a good follow-up to the original. I think it is Fuck, I can't remember the word. I was going to say it earlier. Whatever, move on.
Although, yeah, speaking of being a good follow-up, the 70s aesthetic that they used in this
Yes.
in Halloween 2018 is quite badass, and John Carpenter's musical score is fucking kick-ass.
That is actually what I was going to say. That might be my favorite part of the entire new movie is the way they've kept John Carpenter's soundtrack, but they've updated it. I think all of the new versions of the songs, and all the songs that have been kept the same as well, they are fantastic in the new movie.
Yeah, the opening title with the pumpkin head and the John Carpenter did the musical score.
He did come back for the score. Yeah, he worked with, I think, his son or his daughter. I don't remember which.
Son.
And someone else as well to work on it.
Son, definitely. Whatever his son's name, something Carpenter. That's probably the best thing about the movie. That adds a lot to the tension. It adds a lot to the atmosphere. It's really well done.
So, overall thoughts on Halloween and Halloween.
Halloween 1 is a good Halloween classic. It's very tense, very artistically made. It's a solid viewing. And Halloween 2018, you might be disappointed because I know horror standards have sort of gone up and gone down at the same time. So you might be disappointed, but if you like Halloween, you'll like it. So yeah, like, give it a watch if you want to, but like, yeah.
So if you haven't seen it yet, or you haven't seen the original, I would say go and watch it, because I think it's worth seeing.
Michael Myers is threatening as ever. He's
a great villain. It's
is.
funny to say he's a great villain when he doesn't say anything. He just walks around and murders people, but I think he's an awesome character.
He is. But although I was a little bit disappointed in the new movie that they didn't keep the breathing sound that they had for him.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess they filmed new breathing.
Yeah. Well,
Probably because the audio is better these days.
True. Yeah, it was
That
really,
it's not going to sound the same when he breathes through his mask.
Speaking of which, your Blu-ray copy was
Oh, the
really
audio
odd.
fucking it's garbage.
high music, really low audio, just dialogue and shit like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I usually, with my TV, I usually have the volume set to usually about 35, maybe 40 if it's a quieter movie. This movie, I had it on max. I had it on 100, and it still wasn't that loud.
Well, speaking of similar titles, Halloween and Halloween, we also watched another John Carpenter movie,
We did.
The Ting.
Oh, did you want me to? We watched The Thing from 1982, 4 years after Halloween came out.
Yes.
Now, you have seen The Thing, I'm sure, probably many times. I'd never seen it before, so this was my Halloween to basically me showing you Halloween and then you showing me The Thing.
I'm glad I refrained from showing you the other two things because they're like the original one from the 50s and the 2011 one because they're both kind of garbage.
I'll watch them eventually, but I was definitely happy to start with John Carpenter's The Thing because that's the one that's super famous.
I was working the other night and there was a Halloween song where they were like referencing all these Halloween movies and they mentioned The Thing and I was like, oh, didn't realize that The Thing had been. I thought The Thing had just only risen in popularity in like the past couple of years. Apparently, it's
Hell no. The Thing's huge. I don't know how I've managed to like avoid seeing it until now because I've always like heard about how amazing it was, it was. I really, really, really thought it was fantastic. So I thank you for showing it to me.
You're the only person who I've shown The Thing and that they've liked.
Really?
Yeah. I remember.
Do you have any reasoning? Did they provide reasoning as to why they didn't like it? I'm genuinely curious.
Well, three of the people that I shown with, one of them just thought it was funny, and I was like, oh, okay. He's like, oh, goofy, and I was like, okay. And then the other one just fell asleep, and same with the other. Yeah, like most of them just fell asleep during the movie. I just didn't think it was their time to watch a slow burn John Carpenter movie about an alien.
I think it's scarier than most horror movies. In saying that, I wasn't really scared, but so maybe I'm a fucking liar, but I think that it's just so well made. It's so much better than most of the shit that comes out these days.
Yeah, well, it may not be scary, but it's a very effective horror movie.
Yes. I just wish people just used practical effects more. I know it's so you can make a more real looking thing. CGI is at a point these days where you can do anything with CGI. You can make whatever you want. Like a prime example is fucking Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange, the CGI in that movie, obviously you couldn't do the shit in that movie without CGI. And it looks great in the movie. But if you don't need to use CGI, please don't in your movies.
Christopher Nolan's like the only guy out there who's like he's the only guy who has the mentality of, if I can't do it practically, then I'm gonna do it CG.
Yeah, but he'll try his best to make it real. Because it's so much more effective. It feels real when it is real.
It's especially the thing, like it's very visceral, very like a lot of it has to do with the soundtrack, the musical score, and the sound effects. But also Rob Bottin's work, like the man fucking worked himself to absolutely no end and fucking nearly passed out due to exhaustion because he was working so hard.
Well, it's surprising we haven't really touched on this yet, because basically every single movie we've talked about today has been almost like incredibly reliant on practical effects.
Well, yeah, like Halloween movies especially violence is, and like gore is very. It's really only convincing if you do it practically, because CGI.
Did you mean horror movies?
What'd I say?
You said Halloween movies.
Both Halloween movies or horror movies. Like violence is really like more convincing when it's practical, as opposed to CG.
Yeah. So Halloween, the original, obviously, there's not much violence in it. The Evil Dead movies, they're packed full of violence. They're using lots of practical effects. The Evil Dead remake, you and I were both very pleasantly surprised that for a 2013 remake, they were still doing lots of practical effects.
I think that was because Raimi had his hand in there. He's like, just maybe use practical effects,
because it's pretty much all practical.
Yeah,
in that movie, aside from like the end sort of where it goes all crazy. Same for the new Halloween, the 2018 one. It was pretty much all practical shit.
There probably wouldn't have been any CG in that movie. Maybe a little bit with certain aspects of the gore, but like
I'm thinking of a couple of bits, but for the most part, yeah, it seemed like it was all practical effects. So yay horror movies.
Yay horror movies. The thing. So yeah, I know what I think of the thing. I think it's very effective, very cool, gross looking, very tense, very atmospheric. That's the best thing about it. But since you were so blown away about it, what did you like? What do you reckon was the best aspect of the movie, of the thing?
I think it's a very cleverly told story. But the thing that when I say that, I mean it is very tense. Everybody's on edge. No one can trust anybody. I think that's really effective. But the best thing for me, I think, is just those practical effects. It's given me a newfound appreciation for practical effects, in which I just think, I know I've seen snippets from the 2011 The Thing movie.
Yeah,
and
the worst one.
It's a lot of it looks super fake and silly. Just watching this movie, just thinking, one, how the hell did you come up with this ridiculous shit? Like, it's insane, the stuff that they've done with the practical effects. It's like someone had to be real fucked up to think of the designs for these monsters.
Well,
but also, it looks fantastic. Every single shot of it looks great.
Yeah, it's.
I thought it was great.
I thought it was a great movie. Yeah, it was.
I love movies. They're so great.
Come on my podcast.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it helps that the script is really good. Like the characters aren't really deep, or it's not really a very complex movie. It's very well written. There's a lot of especially a lot of it has to do with well staged creepy scenes. Like one of the creepiest scenes in the movie, I don't remember whether or not you were paying attention to it or whether or not you noticed it. It was one of the characters sees what he thinks is the thing, walks down a hallway and just never comes back. That's pretty.
I can't remember. I'd have to watch it again. I don't know if I noticed that originally. But it does a lot of really effective stuff like that. Yeah. John Carpenter's just a master at his craft.
We have to watch They Live next, I guess, because that's just pure action schlock. But yes.
Oh man, there's a bunch of movies I was showing you when we were coming back from Army of Darkness. You had that on our list of things to talk about today. I think we might save that for next episode.
Oh, what, They Live?
Our adventure on getting home from Army of Darkness.
Oh
yeah. But yeah, I was looking, there's a bunch of steelbooks, because I love my steelbooks of John Carpenter movies on this website where I buy shit from, and I'm very much considering just buying all of them, because from what I have seen over the past week of John Carpenter, I really want to see what else he's made.
Well, is that the reason that there's heaps of John Carpenter steelbooks out is because of the new release of Halloween 2018, or is it just because?
I don't think so, because otherwise they would probably be releasing, because they had like a certain visual style, as you saw. They were all like a similar, like a set of releases. Like The Thing wasn't in there, and Halloween isn't in there.
Oh.
And you'd think they would, because they have Halloween. These were all like 4K new releases of his classics.
Yep.
Halloween's just had a 4K release, but they didn't do that as part of this set, which I found surprising.
That is surprising, actually.
And also, how the hell has The Thing not had a 4K release of all of his movies?
Yeah, that's one of his most popular movies hasn't had a 4K release.
That's baffling. I'd say like that and Halloween are his two most notable things he's made.
So there's one of They Live, but not one of The Thing. Like, more people know of The Thing than know of They Live.
That's what I meant. The Thing and Halloween.
Yeah.
Because he did Escape from New York, didn't he?
Yeah, have you seen that?
I have not
I've
seen
seen
that.
that.
Literally, I had never seen a John Carpenter movie prior to this week.
Well, I'm got to say, you seem impressed now.
I'm very impressed. I'm always happy to, because I've missed out over the years. I've missed out on a lot of the classic directors. Like I was never well acquainted with like Kubrick and things like that. I don't think I'd ever seen a Kubrick movie until this year.
I was,
and he makes some good shit.
I was reasonably well acquainted. I'd seen Clockwork Orange, 2001, all those ones a couple of years ago. But yeah, like there's still more of his movies that I want to see. I want to see Eyes Wide Shut, shit like that. Still on it's still on my Letterboxd watch list. So follow me on Letterboxd.
I just have to say to you, Jacob, my laptop is getting real loud. So we'll sum up our thoughts on The Thing, and we might have to call it a day for this episode.
That is fine, because I really need to take a piss and go and masturbate to Jamie Lee Curtis's feet. So for fuck's sake.
John. I was about to say John Lee Curtis. John Lee Carpenter. He's really great. I'll have to watch more of his stuff.
He's great.
I absolutely love The Thing. I thought Jamie Lee Carpenter. He was great.
I'd recommend almost everything. I'd say Escape from maybe Big Trouble in Little China is my favorite John Carpenter movie. Second to The Thing, but yeah, like John Carpenter, check out his shit. This is a plug-in for John Carpenter.
That goes to all of you people. If you haven't seen John Carpenter movies, if you haven't seen Sam Raimi movies either, I'm sure you have. I'm sure you've seen the Spider-Man trilogy. Yeah, because fucking everybody has. But this has all been a ploy. It's all been a big plug to get you to watch Raimi and Carpenter movies.
Yeah, they're desperate for money now. They're just like, we need someone to sell us out.
Well, I mean, Raimi did do a deal with Mickey Mouse a few years back, so I suppose his butthole's a bit wider, but also he's got a lot more money under his belt now.
Yeah, poor Raimi. I mean, it was a different time. So yeah, you kind of just had to just deal with the punches or deal with the blows. Or just blow Mickey. So poor Raimi. What is he even doing anything nowadays?
Raimi, well, I mean, it wasn't that long ago he made that Disney movie, Oz the Great and Powerful.
That's been like his last. That was 2014, wasn't it?
I mean, he's a good director. He doesn't just like shit out movies every 10 seconds.
Yeah.
So it's understandable. I'm sure he's still working on stuff. I mean, he's been working on the Ash vs. Evil Dead show until this year.
And now it's cancelled. Poor guy.
It's been cancelled, but wasn't he directing the show?
He directed
either that or he was like executive producer. He was very heavily working on the show.
I think he produced and directed the first episode.
Okay, I know he definitely was heavily involved with it.
He probably was.
So that's probably what he's been occupying his time with. I hear there's also an Evil Dead VR game, an Ash vs. Evil Dead VR game coming out.
Oh, dude, that'd be fucking sweet.
I'd be down for that. They could do some really like fucked up visual stuff with VR in that universe.
It'd be a groovy time.
But anyway, final thoughts on The Thing.
The Thing is an excellent movie. Maybe a little bit dated, so you might not be scary by today's standards.
Not scary, but if you enjoy movies and the craft of making movies, you should fucking eat this movie up.
Yeah, you'll enjoy it plenty if you like unsettling atmosphere, which is probably the best thing about it. If you like gross out shit, it's got it all. It's got I sound like a used car salesman. It's got everything you need. It's got air conditioning. It's got gore.
It's got to come on the seats.
It's got Mickey Mouse cum on the seats. It's got everything, man. All right. On that note, I think we should depart and let people go watch The Thing and subscribe to another channel.
Yay! So happy Halloween for last week, everybody. This has been our Halloween special. Only a week late, but that's fine. It's fine. When have we ever released things on time? Maybe one day we'll have a schedule. I say that because we have got a schedule planned. We just need to get through the first sort of few weeks of us getting accustomed to making this new shit, and then it'll all be good from there. So thank you all so much for listening. I am Lachlan.
And I'm Jacob.
And we also, actually, we're going to plug our social media for a second. We both have Twitter accounts that we post on fairly regularly. Discheads also has a Twitter account that posts some shit. So if you want to see updates on when, episodes are coming out, things like that, if there's a delay, something like that, chuck Discheads a follow. I personally put some stupid shit on there, and you and I both, if you tweet to us, we'll probably reply.
Yes, and also buy our merch on our official merch store. We've got Mickey Mouse t-shirts, Casting Couch t-shirts, Dischead t-shirts.
It's just a 3D hat of Mickey Mouse's cock.
It's got the balls are just like his ears, the little round black circles.
All right, we need to end this shit. Thanks for watching, listening. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye, everyone.